I'm not asking anybody to follow or like my page. It's never been about that. And I not once in 7 years have ever asked anybody to like or follow my page. I've asked for shares because this is all about awareness. And this is not just about my wife Lucy. There are others that I voluntarily provide support for, online, face-to-face, advocacy, advice, mediation, referrals, all relating to instances of poor care and neglect in the health and social care system. I have got GNS Press accreditation as a freelance journalist, although if you've read the page you will see that I'm not ethical. I've kind of learnt my lesson from that in one sense since my second arrest by Gloucestershire Constabulary for speaking the truth. I've been very raw. I haven't held back, but the seriousness of the situation, I think, has warranted that. As I say, since my last arrest, I've calmed down a bit and haven't been quite so descriptive about what I consider to be the perpetrators of neglect, abuse and concealing of such. Now, much of my voluntary side of what I do consists of receiving from families extremely distressing and mostly secretly recorded videos and audio recordings to which they have a legal right. Now this is whether it's in a hospital, care home, doesn't make a difference. The professionals can't do this. If you're a relative or a patient or a resident in any care setting, you have a legal right to record. Look it up. You have. I've got this first hand from a human rights lawyer. But most of what I get irrefutably evidences avoidable failures, neglect and abuse that families UK-wide and abroad experience. An astonishing number of complainees have been met with gaslighting techniques, false allegations, care home and hospital bans if they continue to complain. And frequently they don't have these concerns seriously taken. So they've got justified cause to complain again and again and again. Now, when they've gone through all the correct channels, even escalated to Care Quality Commission, they will inform them that we don't investigate individual complaints or concerns. They can't be investigated because they don't investigate individual ones. Local authority, yes, sometimes they do. I assume it depends on the caseload and your credibility. But once you've been labelled by those you complain about, your credibility goes downhill. You're nothing. You're a liar. you make things up, you exaggerate, you're aggressive, you're intimidating. No. I know that's sometimes the case, I get that. But this is why you have to record, because this will evidence your behaviour. Now, you might not get that evidence
alone,
but you have a legal right to publish that on the internet. That's your property, you can do it. Doesn't matter whether it names somebody, that is your legal right. It is. Now, we've had a 7-year campaign for a duty of care to be upheld in the health and social care sector, including care regulators, for perpetrators to face consequences as opposed to lack of transparency, widespread organisational protection. We want improvements, we want transparency, and we want honesty. Now, since I've spoken to BBC Panorama and Channel 4 Dispatches, and had contact with Michael Buchanan, senior journalist from BBC, this has escalated. NHS are fully aware that the evidence that I actually hold would bring widespread public scrutiny, and therefore it's in their interest to prevent any of this being publicised. Now, during the past 7 years, I've identified and publicly shared videos and audio recordings that irrefutably evidence cases of, as I've said, non-feasance, malfeasance and malpractice from care homes, nursing homes, community care, domiciliary care companies, adult social care, and sadly even the NHS and mental health hospitals in various UK locations. And I've worked on some of the stuff that has actually been, widespread media. I'm still in contact with some of the whistleblowers from various. I've published a recent batch, not all yet, of 2023 from 2023 videos before my wife Lucy died. They're audio recordings that irrefutably evidence continued poor care and treatment, verbal untruths and covert behaviour from Gloucestershire medical professionals. Some of those have been publicly identified. Now that's my material. As I said, I had a legal right. And Gloucestershire Constabulary, you will know this. What you should do. You should do. It's no use you dealing with a small-time firm from Tewkesbury to do your work for you, because, as far as I remember, they're actually who the council use. We've beaten those before. Following my rejected complaint to Gloucestershire Constabulary in respect of their flat refusal to investigate police misconduct relating to 2 seizures of property from my house, including my power of attorney, court of protection documents, papers from a big file like this. Why do Gloucestershire Constabulary want those? They've taken complaints letters or copies of complaints letters that I've written. They've taken some photos that we had of Lucy. They've taken every internet device, I think 3 laptops, possibly 3 or 4 phones, at least 3, Alexa, the Wi-Fi router, you name it.
Here's
The monitor,
to use it,
even,
you will need to
that
go
we
to the
used
Alexa
to
app
monitor
to link your
Lucy
account and
overnight.
complete setup.
Now, with that gone, nobody could hear Lucy crying out the night she died. She was calling out for an hour and 20 minutes. Nobody could hear her because the police had taken that monitor. It's just like a baby monitor. Why would they take that?
Playing from desktop MTH1
Anyway.
is 9.
I'll try and be focused. I just want to thank you, Laura Eagling, for doing what you've done. I want to thank everybody on LinkedIn that has and will support me in this. I want to thank the legal professionals that no, they haven't got time and I can't afford to pay for their services. I want to thank those for advice that they're handing over. And I want to thank any followers that have and will share some of what is published. There haven't been many. Disappointing, but it is what it is. You know, everybody's got their own incidents, etc. Now, Gloucestershire Constabulary, in my opinion, have collaborated with Gloucestershire NHS Legal Department. They've gone beyond the Crown Prosecution Service remit. The police have instructed Tewkesbury-based litigation solicitor's office, One Legal, to apply specifically in the county court for an injunction order to prevent exposure, future and current, of professional neglect. Again, I'm going to say the words malpractice, malfeasance, nonfeasance, and, in my opinion, gross negligence, manslaughter of Lucy, because she was seriously failed. Even the day that she was discharged, that was on the day that a GP, and I have the recording, told me that the initial results for a urine culture came back as high infection. Cheltenham General Hospital still discharged Lucy. I'm probably going to get arrested after this, and to be honest, I'm bricking it doing this. But watch my mouth. The officers that actually delivered the court summons by hand the other day, I've got no beef with those at all. They were really polite, seemed impartial apart from obviously their professional duty. No beef with them whatsoever. It's just the questionable senior decision makers that have told them what to do. Why do NHS, aka Gloucestershire Police, want an injunction order to gag me? The proposed injunction order would, and I quote, forbid posting on social media site or by any other means images or words which will cause or are likely to cause harassment, we'll get to that in a minute, or alarm or distress. They want to forbid producing any written or visual article of any kind which will or is likely to cause, there's the word, harassment, or alarm or distress. Now, if you see something on the news, something on a TV programme, a movie, or you read about something in a newspaper or online, that it may be, I don't know, a dog that's been beaten, starved, etc. It might be a documentary about physically abused people and their injuries, mental health abuse. Of course it's going to be alarming. It's going to be distressing. If people weren't distressed or alarmed by that, what does that say about humanity? Of course it's distressing. Why do they want to stop me, lawfully prevent me from publishing anything or talking about anything publicly that somebody may or may not find alarming or distressing? I wouldn't be allowed to use distressing or alarming words. Now, that would kind of set a precedence for anybody else in a similar situation. Every county would be on this. That's a fact. Every county, because if the NHS get this, if your family member gets in a similar situation, you're going to be silenced. You'll be silenced because the precedent has been set. Is that the right word? Much of what I've published is covered by Article 10 human rights on my side. And the individuals from NHS that I have already named would need to sue me themselves to get civil injunctions against me. Apparently I'm being told that the way that the police, aka NHS, are going about it, wouldn't legally cover it. So, why have they chosen to take this action in a civil court? It's a tactical move. One, they know I don't stand a chance of securing free legal representation in a civil court, albeit I think I may have found a way. I've been completing the forms, everything this morning. I've maybe another half an hour to do so. I'll get them sent off. Two, they know I don't have the money to pay for legal representation. They know that if they were to pursue this injunction in a magistrate's court as a criminal case of harassment or malicious communications, I will plead not guilty, 100%. Therefore, that would give me the lawful right not just to get legal aid and a human rights barrister, but also to have every single piece, or most of it, of my audio and video evidence against Gloucestershire NHS heard and seen in a court. Now, whether the court would put a prohibition on, I can't remember the word for it, but a prohibition so that it couldn't be heard publicly or not, I don't know. Some of what I have isn't even yet in public domain. It's in a safe house. A lot of it has already been uploaded because I upload it as I get it, and I'm not going to ask anybody to press the button to make everything public. I daren't do that because, you know, they'll send me to hell, won't they? But they've also completed this application for the injunction with the end date of the proposed injunction order and police powers of arrest as 2026. They haven't put a month.
Shut it.
you can bet your ass that they will ask for December 2026, because that will be the cut-off year, the limitation period that you have to pursue a legal case for medical neglect. And with the evidence that I have, I'm in no doubt whatsoever that Lucy did die from gross negligence manslaughter, which the police are actually refusing to investigate. Gross negligence manslaughter is a criminal offence. The police do have a duty. I have complained to the police and to the IOPC. They've sent it back to Gloucestershire, who I'm actually complaining about. They're refusing to even look at my complaint. Well, we know why, don't we? The answer is because I'm published the truth, and when the truth can be evidence as truthful and factual, it is not malicious and it is not harassing. I don't want to upset anybody. That's not my intention. My intention is public awareness. If you didn't have public awareness, there's no scrutinisation of these people. This is what it's about. Wrongdoings need scrutinisation. There needs to be accountability for the lack of transparency, the lies and the deceit and the false allegations.
Here's a post.
When
Hello.
when I've posted things, a lot of it, as I've said, have been unethical. The intention is to raise awareness in public interest by campaigning to get care regulators, etc., and the law to address incidents of neglect and abuse, avoidable neglect and abuse. I understand that mistakes happen, I fully get that, but when it is avoidable, somebody needs to be held to account, not protected by the organisations like the bullying culture of the NHS. When health and care professionals and care regulators concerns, they're the ones that are breaching human rights. Our objective was not, and certainly is not, to harass or distress those people that we have exposed, because it is exposure, and if they feel distressed or harassed, it's my firm belief that they feel like that because they're so embarrassed to be in the public spotlight for what they've done, what is evidenced that they've done and said. And the public have a right to know what kind of care they can expect from those particular care workers, health and care workers, in any given sector. That is public interest. You, the public, have a right to know who or what you may be dealing with. But health and care neglect and abuse of vulnerable disabled people, especially those with comorbidities, appear to be forbidden subjects in the eyes of Gloucestershire Constabulary and Gloucestershire NHS. The NHS across the country, I think. I've already said that the police are refusing even to investigate my allegations of gross negligence manslaughter of Lucy. They have a duty to investigate. And furthermore, it is a criminal offence for officers of the law to collaborate with, to aid, abet, counsel or procure Gloucestershire health and care professionals in an attempt to prevent an investigation which would undoubtedly reveal evidence of unlawful do not attempt to resuscitate orders, improperly implemented deprivation of liberty restraint authorisations, and actually improperly implemented respect forms. You, as a family, for your loved one, and especially if you're power of attorney, and the patient, have to be involved in those discussions leading up to it. The respect form, that's your form. That is supposed to list your feelings and your wishes regarding medical care. They cannot do that behind your back. I think I've already been here about the officers coming into my house on 2 occasions, seizing what they have, refusing to even give a list of what they've taken, flatly refusing on 2 occasions. That strongly suggests an even more stronger indication that they could be breaching various sections of Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984. They could also be breaching the Criminal Procedure and Investigation Act and rules in the manner that they were supposed to investigate gross negligence manslaughter, not just that, but also from the 4th of August arrest, where an allegation was made against me. If you're on the page, you will have read about it. An allegation was made against me that I had allegedly inserted a finger into either Lucy's bottom or vagina whilst doing personal care. That's what I was told by police officers. Now, when I asked, when is this supposed to happen, my first words, if I remember correctly, were
54.
Yeah, I know they would do something to shut me up, but I didn't think they'd go as far as this, and I really didn't.
26,
No.
54, 26.
They told me that
39.
I thought that the police told me that it happened on 23rd or 24th of July,
Plus 11.
which was 2 or 3 days before Lucy was discharged from Cheltenham. But apparently the duty solicitor said no, it was supposed to have happened on the 17th of July.
63 minutes.
That's when I started complaining about poor care.
163.
Lucy had, for almost 48 hours, been on a flat air mattress. And it wasn't until, I think, more than 24 hours that one of the nurses did get it changed.
7.
It was still getting flat, so that was rectified. Okay, that's a mistake. But that first 24 hours was crucial for Lucy.
56.
And it should have been done way before it was. Within that 24 hours, not afterwards, because she had a grade 4 pressure ulcer, hospital acquired, from Gloucester Royal Hospital.
60.
That was getting
minutes.
rapidly worse. What made that worse was the fact that trained medical staff
63.
were using patches so small that
165.
the adhesive border of those patches
63.
was actually sticking to the open wound, making it worse. Another factor is Lucy was consistently left for longer than she should have been in soiled and wet pads.
165 minutes. Divided by 60.
If you think of a baby with a nappy, when they've soiled themselves, if it's not firm, it's going to like squash everywhere. Now, somebody with a pressure ulcer and inadequate medical dressings on that ulcer that are just peeling off because they haven't even been put on right, they're not even stuck to the skin or in the sacrum, you've got faeces and urine going in there. That's making it worse. Now, I complained about this. Now, the first I knew of 17th of July was when the police officers told me. So Lucy was in this particular hospital from 16th of July. 16th of July, moved there from Gloucester in readiness for a nephrostomy because she was up for a kidney stone operation, and here we go, going on again. Now, those kidney stones she's had for a minimum of 7 years. They've been painful for almost that long, but only just decided that, it might be the kidney stones causing urosepsis. Well, she also had some kind of fistula that would lose faeces from the lady bits. I've evidenced that to doctors. At one point there were some small-time investigations, like, was it a 6-hour tampon test or something like that? Now, this was sporadic, but it always coincided every single time that she had urosepsis. Every single time. Now, when she was given IV antibiotics, so I'm smiling now because this leads me on to something associated but not bullet pointed. When she was given antibiotics, the antibiotics, in my opinion, would fight against this sporadic faecal leakage that was causing, along with the kidney stones, and don't forget stomach ulcers for, God knows how many years, but specifically the kidney stones on this faecal leakage would fight against the antibiotics. Lucy would initially improve, start to smile. She was asymptomatic. I've got that on recordings so many times where especially the GPs have acknowledged that. I'm not going to name where or who with the GPs, because the only beef at the moment that I've got with them is that they're refusing medical records alongside of Gloucestershire NHS. Anyway, let's get back to this allegation. Now, 17th of July I started complaining about poor care, pissy, pooey pads, etc. They weren't feeding her, they weren't brushing her hair, hardly ever brushing her teeth, and I fully get that Lucy was not very compliant. Now, she had very poor cognitive impairment, but it was so bad at this point because the effects of the urosepsis, that just drains anybody's mental, cognitive abilities and physical. So obviously she would be worse. She needed much more time. Now, I get that they were short-staffed. I fully get that. But it doesn't take a minute to go back. Oh, you're refusing, are you, Lucy? OK, I'll come back in a minute. Or I'll try and encourage you. Now, with Lucy, you had to
Playing
use
from
things like,
desktop MTH1 is
your
9.
eyes, aren't they blue? Haven't you got nice long blonde hair? Haven't you got a nice smile? That would make her smile. That would perk her up a bit. She'd eat some food. She'd have a drink. She would take her medication. If you're not going to speak to a person basically with dementia in that kind of encouraging and participating way, they're not going to do a damn thing for you. It's common, basic, common sense. That wasn't getting done. And here I am drifting off, but I'm going to get on the subject. Better be quiet, please. So I've got 2 rescue Dobermans. So from the 16th to the 26th of July, I continued providing personal care for Lucy. There was a retained healthcare familiar care worker that had cared for Lucy, 3 or 4 years. She was also coming into the hospital, not just to help me, but to be there when I wasn't as well, to lessen the risk of this neglect. I'll turn it, Josh. Nobody can see you, don't worry. To lessen the risk of the neglect. From the 17th, well, actually, probably more like from the morning of the 17th, there was just a horrible air after I'd spoken to a ward sister and complained about this poor care. Prior to that, on the 16th, I was complimenting staff, everything. But it just suddenly turned hostile. And this was fairly early. So I carried on doing Lucy's personal care, feed her, brush her hair, teeth, everything like that. When she would let me, Sarah kept coming in. It wasn't long before staff started talking about, and especially, I can't say, they started talking about discharging Lucy because we saw her smile. Myself and the carer objected against discharge because Lucy was not medically fit at all. She was deteriorating. She'd had the nephrostomy. I can't remember off the top of my head the date, but I asked the 2 consultants and a less senior clinician not to discharge Lucy until they had got results from a urine culture to show that infection had been eradicated. They flatly refused. Said, well, you know, we've done bloods. I said, yeah, but listen, I said, I'm not arguing with you, but bloods have been taken time and time again for the past probably 10 years that very often have come back not too concerning. Occasionally, not concerning at all. But within hours, she's had sepsis, infection-induced seizures, rushed into hospital, sometimes within literally, as I say, hours of somebody saying, no, she's okay, her bloods are fine. This has happened so many times. I probably had more hot dinners than that many times. But they wouldn't listen, as normal. I got accused of, as usual, not taking medical advice. All I wanted them to do, which I voiced, please look at her medical history. It will evidence, look at the community notes as well from district nurses, rapid response, GPs. You'll see how often you have made the wrong decision. You've been wrong. Now, if they want to take that as I'm undermining them, I'm sorry, but that's not my problem. My problem is that they kept doing the same thing time and time again. So we got this urine culture. The morning of 26th of July, I believe it was, when she was discharged, had the GP on the phone telling me initial indications, high infection. I had the phone on speaker, took it to staff so they could hear this GP. I was accused by a less than senior consultant, or she wasn't, the person wasn't a consultant, but you get the drift. She was insinuating that, how do we know that urine is even Lucy's, belongs to Lucy? You know, as if I'm going to pee in it, take it to the lab, and the results come back as mine. I didn't have a urine infection. I wasn't one with a urine infection. I wasn't the one about to be unsafely discharged again. So they carried on. They did send Lucy home. That night she had seizures. She's not epileptic, by the way. This only ever happens with like severe infections, and when she's got this sporadic fecal leakage. We've had rapid response out, GPs, paramedics. She had IV antibiotics at home. They'd sent her home still with an incredibly high and damaging infection. They would not acknowledge. So you can see where I'm going with this. It's the conflict and the fact that from the 17th of July until the 26th of July, nobody attempted to prevent me or prevented me or our carer, Sarah the carer, from doing Lucy's personal care in hospital. She was then sent home into my care on the very late afternoon on 26th of July. My care at home, as usual, carry on, feed her, everything, brush her teeth, personal care, the works. The evening of 4th of August, I was arrested. The 5th of August, when I was interviewed, was told of this allegation. Well, it wasn't even an allegation. It's a half. We think he may have. We think he may have. Okay, where's the credibility in that? Who said it? Nobody seemed to know. My point is, between the 17th of July, when this is supposed to have happened, and by the way, our carer, Sarah, was in the room non-stop all the time, especially, and more to the point, specifically even at the time that this is supposed to have happened. She's refuted that in a statement. I was speaking to her yesterday. It's bullcrap. It's meant to shut me up. Now, I know I've gone off track, and I apologise for that. But this is just how it is. It's very important to me, and I'm sure it would be to you, if this happened to you or yours. It's not right. It's certainly not right. All I'm asking for is just have a look on Carers Want Competence Facebook page. You'll know which one it is. It's not the Carers Want Competence UK group. It's Carers Want Competence. You'll see a picture of my late grandmother dressed in a military jacket, holding her, and it's not a real rifle, police, holding a rifle from one that my boys had when they were kids. What I'm asking you to do is, if you'll please sign and share that petition. If you had time, I would also appreciate it if you added a comment to the petition. There is an option for that. And I'll reiterate, I'm not asking anybody to like or follow my page, but without awareness of this situation, of this injunction order, and that is the thing that's at the forefront of my mind, the injunction preventing even the use of words that some people may or may not find distressing or alarming. I'm not bothered about the harassment because there wasn't any. I've repeatedly posted about certain people. Again, this is all about awareness in the public interest. If mainstream media are following a case or something like this, and it's updated all the time or whatever, but you'll see this many times. This is no different. It's about raising awareness. And if an issue isn't or hasn't been resolved, it's still an issue. It is still an issue.
54, 51, 54, 50.
I just don't know what else to say. Apart from the other thing, another day. Now, I haven't got, I've got some grey in my hair, but I haven't got a grey beard. I don't wear a red coat, and I haven't got white grey hair. A friend of mine, Keith Smith, was protesting outside on public property, Cheltenham General Hospital. They called the police on him. They told the police that it was me. Keith just stands there with his placard. People come up and talk to him. He lost both his parents by medical neglect. Actually, relating to his mother, a GP and a technical colleague or somebody, they were actually sleeping out in the car after they gave his mother midazolam, to which Keith told them before they did it that it's detrimental for her. I can't remember the wording, but she's got some kind of allergy. She has a bad reaction from it. Please don't give it to her. The GP did. And then he went outside sleeping in his car. GHNFT, they're not playing ball with that. This is the kind of people that you're dealing with.
I don't know.
We could go on to the likes of Wootton Lawn, couldn't we? I know families. I've met with some that, that their loved ones have committed suicide, harmed themselves. Even an HCA actually gave Laura Davis the carrier bag that her life ended with. I don't think that's actually in mainstream media. That's been omitted, but you'll know that often some things are omitted. What I'm trying to get across to you guys is that it is important. It could happen to you. It could happen to somebody that, whether they're your family, your friend, you don't know. Now, most people have an elderly relative. If you have, okay, they might be fit and fine, healthy, but if they're not and they need some kind of care, treatment, support, they are a liability to the NHS, they're a liability to local authority, especially if the care or support is funded by local authority. There seems to be a culture of these people aren't important. They've got comorbidities. They've got a poor quality of life, which is what they kept saying about Lucy. But they were based that specifically at times when she had urosepsis. Duh. Come on. There are plenty of videos on Carers Want Competence page and on my own, Mike Mazzaros profile, evidencing Lucy's quality of life when she wasn't suffering from urosepsis or aspirated pneumonia from hospital staff giving her drinks while she's lying down, feeding her while she's lying down. Of course you're going to get aspirated pneumonia. But that will be another subject. Listen, if you have sat there and listened to all this, thank you. I would appreciate some awareness on this. I just would. You know, this is a dire situation. I don't care one tiny bit about the harassment allegation that's going into civil court. I can evidence it's not harassment. I can evidence that it's not malicious communications. I can evidence that it's in public interest. I can evidence the reasons why these people would want to prevent publications. If anybody does know the solicitor that would be willing to take this on, the hearing is supposed to be on the 18th of June at Gloucester County Court, Kimbrose Way. On Monday, I'm going to try to get it, and I'm not going to say the grounds. I'm going to try and get it adjourned. They have no reason not to adjourn it because I have to be able to represent myself or provide a defence. Now, I was given less than 7 working days' notice. I need legal representation. If you know anybody, like I say, it's a 30-minute hearing. I don't know if I can, if I can't get an adjournment. I don't know if I can get legal aid. As far as I'm aware, I can't. There is a exceptional circumstances form that I'm completing, but I don't think that will be back in time or even looked at in time for the 18th. If you know somebody in a legal position that is willing to help me, I have got some money that I can pay them. I've certainly got enough to pay for that 30-minute hearing and probably a consultation to put them up to speed, etc. Then just please let me know. Thank you for listening, and in the hope that you do actually share this, I thank you for that. And once again, thank you, Laura Eagling. thank you very much for what you're doing. I know I'm forgetting to name everybody else that are being really supportive, and I apologise for that, but you know who you are. Thank you.
Stop.
Disability discriminators. She was still walking around that. Even 2019, 2020, she was still walking around with her walker. She was mobile. After that, sepsis-induced cardiac arrest following a few seizures and a heart attack. And then a cardiac arrest whilst in hospital. Because her urosepsis was ignored, well, disregarded, then she hasn't really walked.
You poor girl, my darling.
A couple of steps with a walker, but urosepsis quite a few times since that cardiac arrest, which each time deteriorates Lucy's cognitive impairment. If they got to the root cause, this fecal leakage causing infection, well, fecal impaction, basically, which has been identified and confirmed years ago. If they got to the bottom of that, then that wouldn't, and her bowels are managed properly, she wouldn't have probably suffered from fecal leakage from her bits, and subsequently all these urosepsis infections. But Gloucestershire, Gloucester Royal and Cheltenham General, specific individuals I'm talking about, I'm not talking about the whole shebang, but specific medical so-called professionals disregard her symptoms, rapid response, 100%, always disregarded her symptoms when they were called out by paramedics or by the GP, relying solely on blood tests. Now Lucy's asymptomatic. She doesn't show very often clinical or clinically expected signs. Some people are asymptomatic, simple as that. A rapid response in particular should know her history. We've had the same teams out time and time again, never taking her history into account of how many times they have gone away, saying, no, she's clinically fit. Even the same day sometimes she's had seizures, strokes, heart attack. Had to be rushed in, but they never learnt their lesson, never learnt from it, and never took regard to how Lucy presents. Her symptoms will be on my personal page, obviously, and some on this page, from probably 2017. If Lucy's temperature, her normal temperature was like 36.6, 36.7, if it went above 37.1, there was cause for concern, and it would generally rise sometimes above 43, 44 even. And even at those times, because her bloods showed no concerning levels, she was disregarded. Lucy's definitive test for urine, urosepsis and urine infection was a urine culture. You know, they could get initial results within 24 hours, and then 2, 3, possibly 4, the full culture results. That's all it would take, but no, they wouldn't even regard urine culture results even when they came back like through the roof. Sorry. Yeah, going back, I haven't been able to see Lucy until today. The coroner's office wouldn't allow it. She did have a post-mortem, the results yesterday. I did insist on a post-mortem because I saw, looking back on CCTV, Lucy vomiting and choking whilst calling out. Obviously not very loud because of the vomiting and choking, but an hour and 20 minutes she was struggling, really, really struggling, and it was really difficult to watch, but I had to know. I wasn't able to be there due to, and you may have read on my page, if you haven't, just look down it, you'll find it, deceitful, false and totally fabricated, retaliative allegation from, now, it's not certain who made this, well, it's not even an allegation, but it must have been a person. My personal feeling is that this allegation was ordered from somebody high up in the hospital legal team. We've had conflict with them ever since they had a failed attempt at revoking my power of attorney. Bloody liars. So the conflict has escalated and grown really out of proportion since then. Anyway, I've always done Lucy's personal care since she needed it, and that's been for years. Carried on doing that even when she was in hospital, to avoid the many times that she's been left in soiled and wet pads, and I mean soiled and wet, even on occasions where it's all been in her hands, her hair, over her face, and actually dried. So when I've arrived, it's taken me actually up to an hour and a half at one point to clean it all off. And when I've removed the soil pad, you can still see past the faeces on it, the date and time. That was on for nearly 12 hours. But one of the nurses said, oh, no, I've just changed her, I think, 3 o'clock or something when I got in there. And I just confronted her. I said, well, I'm sorry. I said, but why does the pad still have the same writing that I put on? I said, this is the same pad. But she insisted that Lucy had been cleaned and changed, was it 10 minutes ago or something? Well, faeces doesn't dry that quickly in 10 minutes. I think that was on ward 4A in Gloucester. Nothing but letdowns, nothing but failures. I've managed to find, I was speaking to yesterday, I was speaking to actually 3 specialist forensic pathologists. I think I've secured one of them. I haven't really had much conversation with the other 2. I think I've secured one of them to carry out a second autopsy, post-mortem, whatever you call it. because I think that the first one was not, in spite of assurances that it would be, I don't think it was thorough enough. I had put all of my concerns across to Gloucestershire coroners that because of all this conflict, and I have lots of evidence of the lies, the deceit, the covert do not resuscitate, covert respect forms, which are actually meant to record a patient's wishes, so to be done in conjunction with a patient or their power of attorney and family, and covert deprivation of liberty forms. There are actually 3 covert respect forms, 3 covert deprivation of liberties within June and July this year. Why do it covertly? There's only one reason for that, and that's to hide something. The first one I found, they didn't even know I had it, because it was just left on a bed. It went missing. They were frantically trying to find it. Anyway, because of this conflict, I had strongly requested and almost insisted that a post-mortem be done out of county to avoid conflict, to avoid any possible allegiance and collaboration with Gloucestershire NHS, because that is all we've seen for over 6 years. They refused that and denied it. They did say that a pathologist from out of area, just across the border, Wales, would carry out the post-mortem. They also assured me, I wrote a very, very lengthy email detailing of why I think she died, due to failures, the fact that she was vomiting for over 1 hour and 20 minutes and before taking her last breath, the fecal leakage, the distended stomach, the fecal impaction, all this should have been looked at properly. There have been quite, how can I say, gentle investigations, not fully investigative, for some kind of fistula to show where the faeces were coming from. But just lately that seems to even be denied by district nurses, GPs and Gloucestershire hospitals. Well, even I think 27th of November she was leaking fluids, and that's direct from one of the carers that were looking after her. So there is something, call it fistula, call it a tear or something, that something causes the fecal leakage, causing infection. Also, when she gets impacted, causes the infection, but also the fecal vomiting. Something led up to her death, the root cause, basically. That's what I was after. I was assured that they would do, and I said to them, be as in-depth and, whatever you can do, even if you've got to dissect this and dissect that. They assured me. But no, it wasn't done. Hence, second post-mortem. They also assured me that they would ask the pathologist to get a sample of the vomit that was still all over Lucy's face, and get it tested to see.
Wait, what are you doing?
To confirm whether or not it actually was fecal vomit, Me, Josh, 2 undertakers and 2 paramedics strongly believed that it was. There wasn't anything from down below. You can't mistake the smell of poo, especially not that close. So, still got a pillowcase preserved and the sheet preserved, and we're getting that tested, see if there's fecal vomit in there. If it is, that will strengthen the case for an inquest, because she was failed and she was let down. I just don't know what else to say, because I'm just so angry and frustrated of the letdowns, and they were blatant, just so blatant, because she has MS, she has a poor quality of life. No, Lucy had a reasonable quality of life. Yeah, did deteriorate, as I've said, with each untreated urosepsis, escalating toward arrest. But even a couple of days before she died, you can see videos where Lucy and myself had WhatsApp conversations with Josh holding the phone. She's happy-go-lucky, she's feeding herself, picking a drink up, she's watching, was it Mary Poppins or School of Rock? She was happy just because she couldn't walk and couldn't make life-changing decisions or important decisions unless she was given a choice. But you had to explain in detail what each choice entailed. Then she could make a decision. That's no reason to just cut her off from treatment or investigations. It isn't, it just isn't. There are many more people with a worse, much worse quality of life than Lucy had. I'm going to fight this, and I'm going to keep on fighting, because the more they push me, the stronger I'll get. I've already had what can we call it? Like a heads up to watch your back, because NHS are going to try and push the police into this false allegation. Around, I think it may have been, she was into pressure sore, really deep, that hadn't been dressed very often. It was inconsistent, so obviously feces and urine were getting into the open sore. If they put dressings on, much of the time, as with Gloucester would use such small dressings that the sticky border would be right on top of the open sore. I mean, how stupid. This is why the word incompetence is part of my page name. Nurses just, some don't seem to be what they used to be, and certainly I don't think they're trained as well as they were. Not really their fault, but you've got to be a bit broad about it, haven't you? A pressure ulcer is a wound. Common sense should prevail. It doesn't. I discovered that somebody, when Lucy was in Tivoli discussion, no confirmation that they were going to do it, nothing like that. So I threatened to take them to the Court of Protection, and I threatened to sue them. From that moment, both myself and Sarah, our familiar carer, were met with hostility from most of them, just met with impatience and things like that. So anyway, I continued from 17th of July up to 26th of July until Lucy was discharged, providing her personal care, along with our other carer, on her days, which were frequent. No concerns, no prevention, nothing like that from providing personal care. Then Lucy was discharged late afternoon on the 26th of July, sent home into my care, where obviously I continued all aspects of care for her. No concerns, no prevention methods, nothing. 4th of August, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, 4th of August I was arrested 10:40 or something in the evening. That was on the Friday night. Saturday I was interviewed, and they came out with this, and I quote, "The hospital said, we think he may have inserted a finger into either her bottom or vagina whilst doing personal care, like whilst cleaning her." My first reaction was, are they stupid? You know, I knew they were coming out with retaliations of intimidation and aggressiveness, which I swear to God I have never been to them, never. I've stated my case no differently than I'm speaking now. That's, the max. I said to why don't you look at the fact that they didn't prevent me from doing her personal care for all that time? The other fact that they sent her home into my care. If this is supposed to have occurred, by the way, on the 17th of July, that's the day after she was transferred from Gloucester from the 17th of July to the 26th of July, and then sent home into my care for another, 9-10 days, and nobody said anything. And this is supposed to have happened on the 17th. My God. Open your ears, open your eyes. You can see where this is coming from. But it's taken this woman over 4 months to investigate. Investigate what? Even the solicitor said it doesn't even meet a criteria. 51%, not even that, for investigation. 4 months to investigate. Okay, go and speak to whoever the person is that thinks they may have seen me do this, that. Just go and speak to them. Simple. If I had done something, there still wouldn't be any evidence anyway, just somebody's word against mine. The investigation's still going on, hence the reason why I wasn't able to be with Lucy, sit her up or turn her on her side while she choked to death on her own vomit. How I know that's happened, as I said, is by watching back on the CCTV the afternoon that she died. That was quite difficult to do. If I'd have heard her, she would have been sat up or turned over. Probably wouldn't have even happened. Called the GP out, they would have ignored it. If she had infection, that would have got worse. And by the way, there was no blood samples or urine samples taken from Lucy during the post-mortem. She's probably been washed all out by now. But yeah, we'll get to the bottom of it. And hopefully DC will either arrest me again for for a 2% chance of whatever she's hoping to find, or she's going to drop it, give me my laptop back, 2 phones, Alexa even, and Lucy's monitor, that Josh would have heard Lucy calling out. Why would she take the monitor? Oh, I know, because it had Amazon Prime downloaded on it, and Lucy used to watch Mary Poppins and little movies while she was in Tivoli turning it off. They wouldn't let her watch her movies unless we were there. Used as a punch bag, weren't you, Lucy? Just used as a bloody punch bag. Because you were a strain on the NHS, weren't you, lovely? You know, all they had to do was sort you out, instead of taking years and years and years and years of disregarding you and being discriminating because you had MS. That's all they had to do. Freezing, aren't you? Going to be kept in that horrible fridge, haven't you, until the real pathologist finds out what caused it. You poor sod. You're still having a nice little sleep, aren't you? Come see your ponies, William, Rosie, Lumiere, Maxie, David, Raja, Reflection, Tiny, Nicely, Boo Boo. Want to be with them, haven't you? And you're probably having a nice chat to your mum. Probably brushing your mum's hair, because you used to like doing that, didn't you? When you looked after her. You little bugger. Oh well. Just tuned in. Mary Binks. Have a look on my Carers Want Competence page. Just scroll down. The page is not all about this. I support others, many others actually, with raising awareness of neglect and abuse in the health and care system. But just lately, I've had to put our own stuff on there. But yeah, have a scroll down the page, even just look through the videos if you want, whatever. You'll see quite a bit on there of exposure. That's where you see it. Right, I'm just going to sit down and have a quiet little chat here now. Okay, I don't know if any of you can share this, but if you have any compassion or empathy, if you don't share this one, please share some of the other stuff, because without any help from people that say they support the page and follow and everything, without your help, I'm not going to get anywhere, and neither is anybody else. That is the point. It's not just about Lucy. Hence, I'm not all emotional and shit like that. I've got to keep any emotions separate. Lucy was very vulnerable, and looking after Lucy was, if you imagine you've got like 2-3-year-old child, that's what it was like. Not that she had a mind of a child, but the mental cognitive impairment kind of came across like that. You had to explain everything, and why do you have to take your tablets? Why do we need to change your pad? If you ask Lucy, would you like a cup of tea? She'll probably say yes, but damn well that she meant coffee, so you have to explain the difference. Everything was about giving choices, explaining, encouraging. Sometimes she wouldn't take a drink or something like that, so you had to explain to her in a nice, calm and very detailed way of why people must drink, what can happen if they don't, and so on. You know, distraction methods. Oh, look at your lovely blue eyes, or look at your, which was blonde, look at your nice long blonde hair. Let me see your smile. Oh, here we go, have a drink. And she'd do it, no problem. That's all it took, patience. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't have patience, not their fault, but it just is what it is. But yeah, looking after Lucy, to me, I think of her, to me, she's more like, you know, she's my vulnerable child. That's how it's been for years. And she was very vulnerable, much too vulnerable for NHS and GPs to use her as a punch bag. Do you know the district nurses? I'll just tell you this. Sorry. Used to give her bowel irrigation. Because the first time she had urosepsis, she was vomiting. She was literally vomiting, projectile vomiting, fecal fluid and blood. That was confirmed over 2 GPs that stood in her bedroom. When she went to hospital, you know, like you take a child to the doctors, once they get there, they seem okay. So, you know, just send them off. That was Lucy. So in out of hospital for like 3.5 months before they finally thought to, you know, get a urine sample. Well, I actually asked the GP for a urine sample, and then it was confirmed. All that went on for so long. But yeah, so from that, it was discovered that she had fecal impaction, which is not the same as constipation. It is much worse, causing this fecal leakage and so on. I'm forgetting my bloody track now, aren't I? Somebody tell me. I really don't know where I was going with this. I just don't know. I don't know. I'm a bit stumped. I don't know if I was talking about not having any emotions. Well, I have, but you know, not being emotional. I can't be. You know, I've had to suction my own mother out in Gloucester Hospital, Gloucester Royal, as she profusely bled from her nose and her mouth because they stuck a slide DNA on her. At the end of the bed, there were, I think, 3 nurses, HCA and some doctor milling around. I'm there begging them, come and help me, you know, she's bleeding profusely here. Burst stomach ulcers, but they couldn't because she'd had a slide DNA put on her. And I was basically with her all the time that she was in hospital, the short time that she was in there. But they didn't bother to tell me, didn't bother to tell any of us. Yeah, I think that's the track that I was on. Things like that, things that hurt you, either going to break you down or make you stronger. To get anywhere and stay focused, you have to be strong about things. Doesn't mean you don't care, doesn't mean you don't cry. Just means that you're focused. Sure. You have to be. Right, I'm going to stop boring, you know. But I'll be back. NHS Gloucestershire, yeah, I'm coming for you. I've got lots more videos, audio recordings that I need to dig out. That's where I was. What a bloody bloody idiot I am. District nurses, yeah. After that, after this fecal vomiting, eventually 2018 she got to see a colorectal surgeon. That was like 2 years of trying. District nurses were given her bowel irrigation, bag and tube type thing. Another one, can't remember which one, the boys used to call her Big Bird. Bless her. Nice enough people, you would have thought, until one of their own reported them for using black and mouldy, and I'm talking black, like this black, bowel irrigation equipment for almost 8 months, maybe over. Lucy sepsis again, yeah. Are you surprised? Supposed to be changed regularly, but they didn't bother. Never held their hands up, never saw the nurse that raised the concern again. I believe she was either bullied out or sacked, I'm not really sure. Really nice girl, compassionate. District nurses turned hostile, so I started posting about them on my page. Couldn't really name them at that point, because I was getting accused of breaching Lucy's dignity. No, Lucy's dignity is what she perceives it as, not anybody else, not people that don't know her. If Lucy feels undignified by being pushed from pillar to post, being used as a punch bag, being denied this, being denied that, that's up for her to decide what her dignity is. We've had many discussions on what if and so on like that. We'll see a video on my page where Lucy's telling the doctors to fuck off and sort me out. What would you tell doctors if they say that you must die, like from a DNA CPR, or be allowed to die? No, she didn't want that. But they considered that it will be in her best interest to preserve her dignity. No. Lucy would not feel undignified with me doing this. She would not. She wouldn't. The young Gumble wants to join. Let me see, what's this? She wants to. They can't shitty about doing this. Just, well, to be perfectly blunt with you, I don't give a damn. Mind your own business. All this, you shouldn't be putting this on Facebook, shouldn't be putting that on Facebook. This is about raising awareness. You know, this is no different than people going to the media or speaking their mind on TV and documentaries and bloody ITV this morning, where they don't actually give a shit anyway. It's all about awareness. So if you don't like it, thanks, Dion. Sorry I couldn't hear you on the join. I probably haven't got really much of a signal in here. So final word. Shut up. I've got Lucy's pink blanket in here that Sarah Cara bought for her. She likes a nice warm blanket. I've also got some socks for her because she always gets cold feet, don't you, lovely? Final word. If somebody finds all this offensive because it's out in the open, I'm sorry you feel like that. You're entitled to your opinions, but if anybody wants to criticise, I really don't want to hear it. Okay? Just, I'll respect your feelings, your principles, your values, but please respect mine. All right? Just, don't start trolling and giving loads of shit over it, please. I can really do without that. All right? right then, Lucy. I'm going to ask them if I can cover you up with your nice pink blanket and put some socks on your cold feet. All right? Poor little bugger, aren't you? Okay. Well, whoever's been listening, just thanks anyway. If you could please share this. I think there's only a few of you anyway, but if you can, just please share it for me. Try and do it on public so that others might also look at it and think, oh yeah, I'll share that. Right, but thank you in advance. Hopefully, so bloody share. All right, thank you. Speak to you later.
Hang for a bit. There's a few more people milling about here. Not many, but wait until Saturday, because Saturday's going to be the day where it's busy. I'm going to park right here, where there's shitloads of people. Anybody that walks past can read just what Cheltenham and Gloucester hospitals have been up to. Or should I say, some staff from Cheltenham and Gloucester hospitals. I don't want to be accused of tarring you all with the same brush, because you're not all like that. I know there are many of you that are afraid to speak out for fear of retaliation yourselves, which is not good. You speak up guardians waste of space. Like the girl that I went to see in the canteen that had a meeting with the speak up guardian. Then she called me, asked me to go in for the second meeting and sit a few tables away in the canteen, and even I could hear the speak up guardian weirdly repeating most of everything that the nurse was saying to her. So then other people in the canteen knew that, oh, that nurse is a whistleblower. Speak up guardians employed by the NHS? Yeah, that figures, doesn't it? Same as pals. You go to pals, yeah, they go and have a nice word with the ward or whoever. You don't really
Albion
get much
Chambers.
resolved there. If it's a serious complaint, you go to CQC, they're not interested because their care regulation is absolute shite. Go to the Health and Social Care Ombudsman, again, load of shite. Even with video and audio recorded evidence, they still didn't uphold anything because Gloucestershire hospitals said that they haven't actually apologised, but they kind of put it in a narcissistic way, as though we're sorry if you feel like that. And so many people are subjected to that. We're sorry that you feel like that, and there's always a but. It's just not good enough. Gloucestershire and Cheltenham hospitals. Let me see. Some consultants are arrogantly judgmental. They'll base a person's quality of life at a time when they're presenting with an illness, shall we say such as urosepsis, when their cognitive decline is low, when they're very weak, confused, not eating, not drinking, their speech has gone. Oh dear, I've never met this person before, but I'm sure they have a very poor quality of life. We're gonna put a covert do not attempt resuscitation on this person, but we're not going to tell their family. We'll let the family find out, and then when they complain about it, we'll retaliate with concerns of, oh, we think you may have sexually abused your relative. They'll then continue to let you provide in care for at least another week, send that person home into your care, wait another week, and then have you arrested for this. They won't say anything at the time or prevent you from doing personal care. What does that tell you? Just bullshit retaliation. All you guys areas, you know it's bullshit. Some of you I've seen looking quite sympathetic, but again, not saying anything. I've got to say that in a way I don't blame you, because yes, it's your job on the line. I'm just saying that there is no way that I could stand by and allow this to happen with a zip on my lip. I couldn't do it. I pity some of you. I know there's a bullying culture in the NHS. I've seen it firsthand in both Cheltenham and Gloucester. Three, and probably four, ward sisters from staff. Apparently, none of these senior staff know how to use a printer to print off the covert deprivation of liberty forms that they wrote. 3 in 2 days, I think. One by everything will come out. Anyway, I think I'm going to actually start to get a few people looking, stopping and reading about what we've got. And don't forget, you guys, like I said, you might not care, you might not share, but I'm telling you that if this happened to one of your family, you wouldn't like it. Who the hell are you going to turn to? So just have a bit of understanding, have a bit of empathy, and have a bit of compassion. Because if your relative was, as this says, lying in puddles of urine and faeces, and I mean massive puddles, you'll see the videos, or some of the videos on my page. If they were receiving hostile attitude from staff, just coming up to them, somebody disabled with cognitive impairment from so many bouts of urosepsis, where the hospitals have let her down so many times, they were just coming up, not saying anything, just roughly shoving her on her side to change a pad. She's becoming distressed, not understanding what's going on, and they're not even talking to her. Would you like that? You imagine, you've got a toddler. You go up to it, no words, start doing the nappy change or shoving food in its mouth. You're going to make him disillusioned. It's the same with somebody who has cognitive impairment. You need to open your eyes. Okay. Jan might have to take over. But I'm sorry this isn't the usual kind of service, but most of you know how transparent I am anyway. Lucy had MS, but that isn't what caused her death. I went to see Lucy before we came back to the house with her. This is me, you know, very raw. There was no lid on or anything. Had to explain to her what was going to happen. Because, as you know, she was vulnerable and she was like a child. Probably think it's a bit weird that I've been going to see her while she's been deteriorating after so many weeks. But the feelings I had,
For Lucy, it wasn't like a wife. There were problems years ago. Although we stayed married, the marriage had been over, that kind of it. But to me, she was like a vulnerable young child who needs reassuring, comforting and protecting. She didn't have anybody else in the world who would look after her. And I had to go and see her earlier, basically to lay her to rest. She even has a fluffy pink blanket, colourful socks on to keep her warm, a nice plait in her hair. I think Laura may have done that, Jan. Bless her. And a few sentimental things that she treasured in her coffin. Anyway, since 2013, Lucy had untreated kidney stones, stomach ulcers and a fistula. And here I am, transparent. There was a chain of linked and untreated medical complications that led to her death. I'm still fighting with the coroner for an inquest, and I will fight. And this is where it gets raw. Cheltenham district nurses used black and mouldy bowel irrigation equipment for 8 months without changing a bag on Lucy. After that, she had urosepsis 35 times, minimum. It was frequently disregarded because Lucy was asymptomatic and she didn't show the clinically expected symptoms. So it would go on for weeks before she finally did get treatment. And although the GP acknowledged that Lucy had a high resistance to oral antibiotics, they were always the first course of action. Bit critical, hypocritical. So sometimes having 6 or 7 different types over 2 or 3 months that never resolved it anyway. So then it would escalate to infection-induced seizures, strokes, heart attacks, even a cardiac arrest. And each time it caused a decline in a cognitive impairment, leaving with a kind of dementia. And regardless of Lucy's baseline, medical professionals, especially the district nurses from Cheltenham, tried everything to pin it on the MS. Kept saying it's in Lucy's best interest not to treat her for what was causing the urosepsis. Hospital doctors, Cheltenham and Gloucester, authorised several covert do not resuscitate decisions behind my back, knowing that I'm power of attorney. But Lucy was much stronger than they assumed, and she did recover, always. A few weeks before Lucy died, and within hours after Lucy's carer of 3 or 4 years had complained about district nurses, they told the GP that Lucy didn't need bowel care anymore, and they refused to do it, even though she'd be crying out in excruciating pain. Apparently after 8 years, it had miraculously resolved itself. Now, I wasn't there when Lucy died. Some of you will have read why, some of you already know. But I fought for over 10 years with everything I had to stop the care system from failing her. And the hospital's legal department often tried to silence me. They're still trying to now. If I had stopped fighting for her, and if I hadn't have fought for her, she would have been dead a long time ago. And I've often asked myself the question, did I do the right thing by fighting? Yeah, I did, because she would have been gone. They used her as a punch bag, and it'll get a little bit better in a minute, in an attempt to discredit and prevent me from publicly exposing poor treatment and care, not just of Lucy, but of other disabled and elderly people that I work with on a daily basis. I will travel throughout. I wasn't long ago in Sheffield with a family. This is what I do. I had to know what happened as Lucy died, and if she was in pain because I wasn't there. So I looked back on the CCTV, and it took her over an hour and 20 minutes of choking, as she called her phrase, sod's law, isn't it, darling? She didn't seem like she was in pain. That's kind of a blessing. Lucy's cognitive impairment made it difficult for her to experience pain, which in turn made it difficult for medical professionals to acknowledge it. But it also made everything else difficult for her to process in the way that we would process things, especially at times of the sepsis infection. Sometimes she'd refuse to eat, drink, take her medication, have her teeth brushed, and she'd be asking, yes, but why? Why do I? Like a toddler, that you know they need to do something and they don't really want to do it. But in anybody with any cognitive or dementia, whatever, if you show the patience and take the time to explain, they usually grasp the concept and do what you want them to do within reason, without causing any fuss. And the only way I can describe how I feel is as if I've lost a vulnerable young child, because to me, that's what she was to me. She wasn't. It wasn't like Lucy was my wife, you know, that had gone years ago, but I cared for her as if she was. And I feel as if I've been forcibly held down and made to watch as my child has been adopted and brutally tortured.
Complaint to tribute costs.
Lucy's death would have been easier to cope with if she hadn't been so vulnerable and childlike. She was extremely social. She still had a sense of humour, a highly infectious laugh, impeccable manners. She would even thank doctors when they were sticking a cannula in or any painful procedures. It would be, thank you, darling. Sod's law was her stock phrase, and even some of the carers. I can't do that.
No.
I'm nearly finished. Can we pause on that?
No, let's just turn the volume down a bit.
Lucy was quite comical when our GP used to come to the house. She would say, come here, darling, I want to tell you something. She'd hold his face and kiss him on the cheek, and he'd go a beetroot colour every time. Lucy would watch Mary Poppins over and over again, with a massive smile on her face. And if we put School of Rock on, she'd sit there, glued to the TV, oblivious to everything, her mouth and eyes wide open, waiting for the next song. Some nights she'd lie awake, so I'd have to make up short bedtime stories or tell her jokes and say, Lucy, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, you need to close your eyes, go back to sleep before your mum gets home. And she'd say, is it Sod's law? And I'd say, yes, snug as a bug. And she'd finish it by saying, in a bloody rug, isn't it, darling? She'd close her eyes and be fast asleep in no time at all. So, Lucy, it's the middle of the night. Close your eyes, dream about your ponies. You can rest. Good night, Smiler.